it. Hello, welcome. Everyone's always surprised, and I am surprised too because there's such a delay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Quest Show. I am your host, Lana Quest, and this is my co-host,
Honor. So glad to be here.
Yes, we are. And we do have a guest in the building tonight, Jeremy Kohlwes. He is running for Texas Senate District 24. He is a lifelong military husband and father. Well, not a lifelong husband or father, but lifelong military husband and father coming out of Texas. So we have a lot to get into today, a lot to ask him. But before we do that, we are going to ask everyone to do the routine. Please share this video, give it a thumbs up. What else do we do with it? Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Yep. Subscribe, everybody. Subscribe. After the show, Jeremy will tell you where you can donate, where you can find him on social media and all that good stuff. And we will have everything in the description. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, we are going to hand it over to Jeremy and let you guys know how he got started on this path.
All right. Thank you, Lana. Thank you, Honor. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. So to kind of give you some background on me, you touched on kind of one of the high points. I do consider myself lifelong military. That really isn't like a joke. I was born on an Air Force base, Travis Air Force Base in California, grew up a military brat all over the world. I think I've lived in about 7 different countries so far.
7 countries.
Up until moving here to Texas. Yeah. Yeah, I've
Wait,
bounced around a lot.
You lived really all around the world and then settled in Texas. Wow.
Well, it worked out best for me. It's where the Army kind of sent me to towards the end. And so I've stayed here for a bit, which brings me to one of my fun facts is up until I moved here to Texas, I've been here for about 9 years now. I had never lived anywhere for longer than 4 years, my entire life. Wow. So yeah, that is
military.
Around. Yeah,
that's definitely military. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of different schools.
Now I joined the military myself.
Right.
Yes. And it was fun at first. It was a little harder for high school. It was a little rough there because that's where you really build some connections.
Right.
Right.
So, but after bouncing around with my dad, he was in the Air Force. I joined the Army, decided to be the black sheep of the family. So really the black sheep, because everybody thought I was gonna like computers. Uh-oh, am I good?
Now you are. You were frozen.
Okay. Sorry, I apologize if that happens a little bit. I'm in rural Texas, so we don't have very good internet out here.
Oh, question.
Wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, we're gonna ask
you. Yeah, I joined the Army Infantry. Served for 13 years. Deployed to Iraq twice. 2 15-month deployments. I was in the division that first got extended and the last one to stay for 15 months. Lucky me. Then I was doing Army recruiting in Los Angeles for a little while until I had a little accident. So the Army decided my injuries were a little too much. I couldn't stay. So they sent me here to San Antonio for my therapy and to do my medical retirement. I retired in 2014, decided to go back to school for a little while, got 2 degrees, one in criminology and one in psychology.
Wow.
And shortly after I graduated, I got lucky and I managed to get a federal government job with the Army again. So I went right back to working for the Army as a civilian, working in law enforcement. Yeah, I got a job as an investigative analyst in law enforcement. So basically I was doing crime statistics, sort of, and I ended up writing a lot of policy, doing regulations, revisions for Army regulations on law enforcement. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed the work. It was a lot of work, and it was burning me out, because anybody who's worked for the federal government, especially in some of those kind of high demand fields like law enforcement,
Right.
Emergency services, knows that, they're going to put a lot of work on you, but they're not going to give you a lot of resources to do it.
Right.
So, and, finally I started kind of getting more involved in politics, getting a little more interested. And, over the past year, I just kind of got more and more motivated until finally I said, you know what, maybe it's time for me to, get in there and do something about it myself. And so here I am. Now I'm running for the 24th Senate District here in Texas.
Yeah, you are. Criminology. Maybe you can help Merrick Garland.
I'm hoping he's just making sure he is an airtight case.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Of course he is. So let's jump into the questions. My first question is a two-part question. So over 60% of gun massacres were with assault weapons. Correct me if I'm wrong. Semi-automatic rifles have larger ammunition. The bullets travel faster than handguns. Texas is very liberal when it comes to their guns. However, they're strict on banning books. I know that your work is in the state Senate, but on a state level, what do you propose now, you can't fix the gun laws, but like, I don't know, amend them, make them better, make them make sense, sensible gun laws. And also, I don't know, what do you do about the banning of the books? Can that be stopped at a state level? How?
Yeah, well, I definitely think it can, because it's basically happening at a state level. In fact, here in Texas, one of our legislators actually has a list of about 850 books.
That's a lot of books.
He has said are questionable. Yeah, and some of them just make no sense. There's one by Jamie Raskin, which is actually discusses student rights, constitutional rights, set up for a high school. It's designed specifically for high school, and he's got it on his list of questionable books. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I definitely think that we could put protections in place to make sure that that books cannot be banned so easily. I do, want to be somewhat kind of moderate with it, because I like to let the local governments kind of do their jobs and handle it at their level, because they know what their people need best. Right. But what we're seeing right now is just, it's unbelievable. One of my favorite books is getting pulled from reading lists, To Kill a Mockingbird, and I can't believe that, because I think I must have read it 3 times in high school.
I read it first for me in middle school and instantly fell in love with it. I cannot believe that they are trying to pull To Kill a Mockingbird.
And they need to be running that movie over and over and over again. They're like, okay, we'll just have the movie. We'll run the movie over and over and over again. Now what? That's insane. So what about the guns? I mean, I know you're military, so it's guns aren't the problem. It's just the gun laws.
Yeah, and I think that's the big part of it, is that we need to, as you said earlier, have sensible gun laws. We need to put those common sense protections there to ensure that the people that are buying guns and getting a hold of them are people that will handle them safely and be responsible with them. I'm a gun owner myself. I do even have an AR-15 style rifle, mostly just because of my nostalgia from my military days.
Right.
But I definitely don't want to take away anybody's guns. That's the last thing I want to do. But I believe as a responsible, law-abiding gun owner, it is our responsibility, it's my responsibility to, acknowledge that we have to, maybe have a few inconveniences in the process. If my background check takes a little bit longer, I'm fine with that. If I have to take an extra step to buy a gun at a gun show, I'm okay with hold of those guns. That'll do something bad with them, and it'll make sure people handle them and store them properly.
Right.
So,
go on.
okay.
I'm sorry. No, I was just going to ask the both of you, because I just saw this today. I'm sorry, Honor. Like, there were 3 shootings this week. I didn't even know that. Did you hear that? I think it was Virginia, at a Virginia school. California, was it Oakdale or somewhere? I think it was the mall. And then there was another school. There was like 2 schools. It was a college, a private college in Virginia, another school, and a mall. Like, I don't know. We're just talking about guns. It's like, it's just weird. It's happening so often that it's just like just a regular news story. It just comes on, and then we just keep moving on. I didn't even see anything about on Twitter. Before it was like, oh my God, breaking. You didn't even hear about these things. It's just like a common occurrence now. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say on sensible gun laws. One of the things that we do know is that there need to be stronger checks in place to check the mental health backgrounds of people. And with you having kind of this background in law enforcement and statistics, like, what are some laws that maybe could be proposed, or more minor inconveniences if you are, fit to own a firearm? What are some things that maybe could be put in place to make sure that people that are mentally unstable do not have access to firearms?
Yeah, and that's where like the red flag gun laws come into place. I definitely want to look more at those. We have to balance it though with due process and making sure that the rights of the individual aren't kind of trampled on. But we do need to acknowledge that there are a lot of people with mental health issues that still get a hold of their guns. And it may not even be someone with a long-term mental health issue. It can be something that comes up in the short term. One of the biggest reasons I ended up doing a degree in psychology was because of veteran suicide. And the vast majority of those suicides are committed with a gun. So, I want to do anything and everything I possibly can to protect my fellow veterans and ensure that, if they need help, that they can get it. And that, we kind of remove those weapons that they may be able to, take their life with, because, I want them to get help. I don't want that to happen. It's already happened to a few people I've known. So one was too many, and I really don't want to hear another one.
Well, and that is the flip side kind of gun violence too, that it is the number one way that people do use to take their own lives. And also, just a number of children that get a hold of guns not safely locked up. So those are other laws and things that can be put in place to ensure gun safety as well.
Right, because just like you said, the guns get in the wrong hands, and the more lax the laws are in the southern states or western states, it trickles to the north, because we have strict gun laws here. Like, you can't just get a gun in Boston, Massachusetts. You have to have if you're living in Boston, it's like they have hot zones. So certain cities, you're not going to be able to get a gun license unless you are military or whatever. Some places you can, but the guns are coming from the South. Like, they're bringing them in because it's so easy. Then they're being,
Yeah, and that's the big problem with Chicago is, Chicago itself is very strict gun laws, but
Right.
once you go to the counties outside of Chicago, you can get guns pretty
Mhm,
easily.
mhm,
You can
mhm,
go over to Indiana and get guns easily. So, and then they just drive right back, and it
Right.
doesn't, you got to have some balance and some control there.
exactly.
Yeah, that is a problem. I mean, one more gun thing, because this is what I read, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a thing. So I forgot what state, or maybe it's all the states. Like if you're legally blind, you still can get a gun and have a gun license, even being legally blind. That's it. I forgot what state. It's in the southern
Wow.
state for sure, but it's a thing. It's like, but I guess saying no is discriminatory, is it? Like I don't understand. Okay.
I'm sure there's times when they could still use a gun, if they're at
It
the
is true.
range, maybe there's some
Yeah,
adaptive equipment that they can use to shoot with.
it is
So,
true.
I can
Absolutely.
see that there may be a way to do that, but
Yeah. It's scary, right? It's very scary. Okay.
yeah.
So my next question. In April 2021, there was a federal report done regarding Texas roads. Texas roads got a D plus, one of the lowest in the country, which is surprising because the roads here are really bad too. So there are about 818 bridges and 19,400 miles of road in poor condition. Infrastructure did pass. How do you make sure that the infrastructure money goes to these conditions, that it goes to the right place?
Well, that we just need to make sure we have good people in the state house and the legislature that are going to ensure that that money goes to the right needs, to the actual infrastructure. Unfortunately, I don't think the people we have there right now have that vested interest in their mind. They have other ideas for where that money can go and what it can be used for, and they're more focused on urban areas. I can tell you that, yeah, I absolutely believe that we could have gotten a D plus on roads after seeing some of the roads I've been on in the rural parts of Texas. They can get pretty bad. I think I've probably had about 6 flat tires since I've lived here in Texas, and a bent rim.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
pretty bad.
from potholes and road debris. Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah,
actually,
I
you
lived
know
in
what?
Germany for about 10
Oh,
years and never had a flat tire.
And they have nice roads
do
for
they?
their nice cars.
Yes,
Right, right.
Mhm.
Wow. D plus, but actually your bridges got a B minus, so I take that back. Let's take the bridges out of it's just
Yeah,
the road.
Mhm.
Oh,
a
you don't,
little bit better.
yeah. B minus isn't bad. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess I would want my roads to have the D plus and my bridges to have the B minus than in the reverse. I don't think I want a bridge
yeah.
to be a D.
Considering what, yeah, considering what we just saw happen, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a
Exactly.
little bit better, but
You have a question, Anna?
I do. So piggybacking off of you on the infrastructure, I kind of have a two-parter. One, because let's talk weather. Texas is getting a freeze, and we know that the power grid was a huge issue. I was
Right.
listening to a news report this afternoon, and they said they reported about 700 people died in the freeze last year. So is there anything being done about that? Do you have ideas on how that can improve? And my other question is something that you mentioned as far as rural areas and internet. But I'll let you go ahead and answer the power grid question first. That's an easy.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are gonna get a freeze. It's already getting a little cold out right now. And a lot of people are really worried at the moment. They're not really sure what's going to happen. And unfortunately, rightly so, because very little has been done. about the grid. There was a little bit of legislation passed this year, but none of it really takes effect until next year. And more than likely, any inspections that would happen to further that legislation may not even happen until 2024.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
you know, unfortunately, this, yeah, and that, you know, despite what Abbott said, you know, not everything has been done, because this was a problem that needed to be addressed right away. And, you know, he's put this far out, long-term plan, but it's a short-term right now issue that needs to be dealt with.
Right.
Unfortunately, you know, that's what we're stuck with until the next legislative session, unless, you know, Abbott calls a special session, but I don't see that happening. So for the next special session, you know, if we get enough leadership turnover to make it happen, yeah, there are a lot of great ideas out there. I know Beto would actually like to tie into the rest of the country instead of having an independent grid. That way, if we lose power, then we can still pull power from elsewhere in the country, because, you know, El Paso is on the Western grid, and they didn't have any power outages in El Paso. So, you know, some of the other ideas that have been suggested that I've been reading about is that the government is probably going to have to start paying for an energy surplus to make sure that energy companies, because the companies obviously aren't going to produce more than they can make money off of. So to ensure we have enough of a surplus to address issues, especially during the winter and even during the summer when everyone's got their ACs going, then we need to make sure that there is enough surplus power for them to adapt as needed when those issues come up, and they need to ramp up power. One other one that I learned and I've been studying on is energy storage, which you would think would mean something like batteries, but it doesn't. There's actually some really intriguing ideas out there for how to store energy. One of the ideas I read was like having water towers, but bigger, up on top of like hills or raised areas. And then you pump water into it using up energy, but then the water is in there. When you need the energy, you let it go back out into a lake or a stream, but then it can power pumps on the way down, or fans, hydro fans on the way down. Yeah.
Very progressive.
Yeah, there are actually quite a few. But you know, it's a very intriguing idea.
It is.
Especially, you know, we've got plenty of hill country, and, you know, we got places where we could put that to work, and, you know, have that in case power goes out, and then those counties can tap into that energy storage and use that to keep houses and keep the heat on.
Right.
Great. And then my second question, very quickly, and you mentioned internet. So when the pandemic came here, and I'm in a metropolitan city, I'm in Baltimore, it really showed or shined a light on how many households do not have internet access here in a regular city, because kids could not get online for school. And I saw that is one of the things that you are championing, is internet access. And I think when people think about Texas, we think about this big old state, and it's Texas. And even though it's Southern, you know, you have Houston and San Antonio, but they don't think really about the rural areas. And even maybe for you all, metro areas that do not have full connectivity for everyone. So what are you proposing as far as broadband and internet access?
Well, I mean, fortunately, Biden, you know, paved the way for us there, and he laid out money for us to work on like rural internet and being able to lay broadband and provide broadband, especially even to underserviced communities in urban areas as well. So yeah, that is one of my biggest issues, especially for the rural areas, because for them, most of them don't, you know, their internet they only have wireless options like cell phone, signal, LTE, satellite, or fixed wireless. And none of those work very well, and they charge a lot for them. So it
Mhm.
really hurts in those rural areas because, there is so much that, the world currently, so many ways the world uses internet these days. Shopping centers need it to run their cash registers.
Mhm.
Right.
People need it, just to be able to communicate.
Mhm.
I spoke to one community recently, Lampasas County here in Texas, and they have a broadband line that goes in to the city to run all of their communications. The problem is it
Wow.
runs right along a road, and anytime they do road construction, that line will get cut
Yeah.
and
Oh
they
my
lose
goodness.
everything, all communication, internet, phone, their cell phone towers, everything goes down
Wow.
and they don't have any backup. So it went down for 2 days once, and the police literally had to drive around neighborhoods all the time because the only thing people could do was run outside and shout
Oh
for
my
help. They
God.
couldn't even call 911.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
yeah, coming from a law enforcement background, life, health, and safety, those are key services. Those are
Right.
crucial. And I think those need to always be up. So hearing that, people couldn't dial 911, I'm just like, no way, that we can't have that.
Right.
So, that's why I've gotten so big on the broadband, especially for rural communities, because
Mhm.
I think it'll also bring a lot back to those rural communities because
Mhm.
Texas has been focusing so much on urban centers. They've neglected the rural towns, and
Mhm.
people have been leaving because the jobs have been leaving, the companies have been leaving.
Mhm.
They can't do what they need to do, like go to school, work, whatever.
Right.
So by providing that broadband internet, they'll have those options, online
Right.
schooling, they'll be able to telework. Most jobs are moving to remote work
Mhm. Mhm.
nowadays. So that opens up a whole new realm of employment
Right.
for rural
Mhm.
communities in
Mhm.
Texas. And we can tap into telehealth and telemedicine, which is
Right.
another big thing for
Right.
rural Texas, because we've lost, I believe, 20 hospitals in the last year, I think.
Wow.
Ooh,
Don't
that's a
quote me
Wow.
on
lot
that.
of
In the
Yeah,
pandemic?
hospitals.
yeah. No, just they've been closing because they don't have enough people. The
Wow.
communities have downsized so much from people leaving
Wow.
that the hospital didn't have any reason to keep going. There was no way to support
Right.
itself.
Mhm.
So they closed down.
Then it makes it a healthcare issue because you're facing longer drives for
Mhm.
emergencies and things like that.
Mhm. Oh yeah, and my brother, he's a teacher out in a rural high school about 2 hours away from San
Mhm.
Antonio, and he had a pretty big health scare issue recently, and it was only because he paid extra to have life flight in his insurance that
Mhm.
he probably made it, because they were able to
Wow.
fly him from
Wow.
the next big town from where he lives to San Antonio to get treatment. But
Wow.
if they had to send an ambulance, that would have been a 2 hour ambulance ride for
Wow.
him. And
Wow.
who knows what would have happened in that time. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm still trying to get over losing
Yeah.
20 hospitals.
Yeah, that is
That's scary, right?
awful. Mhm.
Mhm.
So before I ask you my last question, there is a question from the chat that I'm gonna read to you.
Okay.
The question is from Andrea,
Mhm.
and it says, you have a large white community in your district, but you also have Latino and Black. What are you doing as outreach to those voters?
Mm. Well, I mean, I've been reaching out to basically every special interest group I can, especially the NAACP uh, organizations that are prominent, especially around like Killeen, Fort
Mhm.
Hood, and Temple, where
Mhm.
there is a large Black community. And of course, we have the Hispanic community all over as well, especially
Right.
across the rural areas. I've been working a lot with some of my fellow colleague or fellow candidates that have like overlap with my district.
Mhm.
Especially some of the Hispanic ones, so that I can get out there with them and
Right.
then, show
Mhm.
that, I'm definitely interested in listening to what everyone has to tell
Mhm.
me, everyone's issues. I know I need to represent everybody. that, I can't just represent the people that look like me.
Right.
I have to be there for everybody and listen to all of them,
Right.
and do my best to understand their issues. And, that's kind of been the biggest thing is, just with the few people I have been able to talk to face, just, showing them that I'm willing to listen, has gone a long way to kind of gaining their support and showing that, they will still have someone on their side.
Right. Right.
And that is a perfect segue to my last question, which was campaigns generally, you go out, you give your platform, you let people know what you want to do for them. With Texas and being one of the first few states that made news as far as voter laws and the new restrictions that were put in place, have you made plans or have you made changes in your campaign to kind of educate voters, like what even needs to be done with these new laws also they can even get out and vote and make sure they don't run into obstacles? For instance, I heard that I think it's Harris County that mail ballots are being rejected at a high rate for things as simple as providing your driver's license number on one document and your social security on the other. So is there anything that you're doing to kind of keep people up to date on what they need to do to get out there to make their vote count?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been keeping up to date with, some of these issues as well, and sharing as much of that information as possible on my social media, emailing it to my the different Democratic district chairs so that they can push that out as well, because a lot of them are really working hard in their counties to help get people registered, to make sure that they're getting their mail-in ballots sent out, especially for these rural areas, because there's a lot of senior citizens that vote by mail. So it's been a lot, essentially just a lot of extra communication, but I know that it's definitely going to be worth it this year. I know I just shared something on my Twitter earlier today. It turns out we registered, I think, about 300,000 or 400,000 people over what we had in the 2020 election. We're just over 17 million registered voters in Texas.
That is awesome.
That was up from, I think, 16.8. Yeah. So, big win, and a big thanks to like all the volunteer registrars that are out there. I went and got registered myself in a couple of my counties, so I'm able to register people as well. So, it's just a big effort, with so many moving parts and so many people kind of helping out in it. It's been great.
That's good to know. I do have a last question.
Go ahead.
We're going to swing it back to climate change for an ending, because I want to know your thoughts on it and what you have planned. But so in particular, because Texas is having a hard time, like you're getting hotter in Texas, like I guess on average, you're expected to be 3 degrees warmer by 2036. Your average temperature is going to be 3 degrees warmer. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it kind of is, you know what I mean? Like that 2036 is not that far away. And if you're thinking, if that's happening every few years, if it's going up and up, that's going to be problematic because it's already hot. It's not like we're going from an average of 70 degrees. There's more drought. That's going to lead to more drought, more fire, more intense hurricanes. And Texas is in that weird location where you get all of the weather. Like I've never heard of such a thing. Like how are you getting like wildfires and freezing ice storms? Like it's insanity there. So what is your platform on climate change?
I mean, I definitely believe in it. And I want to, move towards clean energy. The one place where I probably differentiate from a lot of other Democrats is, most of them you'll hear talk about, essentially just this like huge jump straight to green energy, lots of solar, wind, electric vehicles. I think that's going to be a lot harder than they may think. because there's a lot of infrastructure that has to get put in place for that.
Mhm.
You know, Elon Musk has been busy for about, for years now, getting his superchargers all over the country. When you have a state like Texas, though, you have rural areas that, they are, who knows when they're going to have one of those superchargers. So if they're
Mhm.
trying to, drive around and haul their, crops with an electric truck and it dies in the middle of nowhere, what are they going to do? So we need
Exactly.
I think we need to have a more structured plan to get there. And I do believe there's ways to do it too.
Mhm.
One that I've been looking at is, through conversion to like biodiesel. Make sure we're using biodiesel more than regular fuel, because that doesn't take any changes. My Volkswagen Passat, it's a TDI, one of the few around, but I could drive with biodiesel or regular diesel, no changes to my engine at all. And the biodiesel is going to be a lot cleaner. And that's going to be huge for all those trucks we have on the roads, because that's what they're using is diesel. So they're going to be some of the biggest consumers of fuel. And if we can switch them to a cleaner fuel without having to add any extra costs to them, then, it's a win-win for all of us. And then that'll at least let us start slowing down this
Right.
climate change progress as we continue to build that infrastructure, get those superchargers in place,
Right.
and have everything ready for switching to electric vehicles, because we've seen how quickly they've been advancing. I mean, they can do 300, 400 miles on a charge now. It's pretty incredible. So, I know that electric vehicles are definitely the future. It's just a matter of, not trying to take that leap too quickly, because it may cause more issues than it will help.
Yeah, I agree. That was great. Thank you so much, Jeremy. So here comes the hard part, the lightning round. All right, let's go. State fair or amusement park?
Amusement park.
Really? So I would have thought state fair.
The state fair is always up in Dallas, so it's a bit of a drive.
Ah.
And we have two amusement parks here in San Antonio, SeaWorld and Six Flags. So it's a little bit easier there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Is it wrong for a vegetarian to eat animal crackers?
I would say no, but are they, is it just sort of a fantasy thing?
Is a ladybug male or female?
I thought they were both.
They are
one
both.
or the other.
They have both.
Yeah.
Yes, they're both. Ladybugs are male and female.
Did you see that? What was it? A Bug's? Wasn't it A Bug's Life?
Yeah. Your last Halloween costume.
The last one that I wore was a pirate. And I think that image is actually floating around on Twitter, so you might be able to find it.
Oh, really? Now we're going to look for that,
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Cake or pie?
Pie. No, I'm in a southern state. Come on. Of course we love pie.
What, pecan pie? Pecan or apple? Must be pecan.
Apple.
Get out of here. You're in Texas. You don't like pecan pie? Or you do like it, you just like apple better?
Because apple or peach, you can warm up and put some ice cream on it, and then it's twice as good.
There you go.
I have never had pecan pie.
It's tasty.
Oh, wow.
It has never
But there's something about the apple or the peach pie with the ice cream.
Yeah.
I gotta go with that.
Absolutely. Godfather or Star Wars?
I'm a nerd, Star Wars. I mean, don't get me wrong, Godfather's great, but I am a nerd till the end. So
Your favorite car, nerd?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Your favorite car. I called you a nerd, but your favorite
My
car.
favorite- Yeah. My favorite car, BMW. So
Not so nerdy. That's a little bit of a speed demon.
Right. And that was the next
Well, you know.
question. Next question.
10
Fastest.
years in Germany. So
Oh,
True.
right.
Mhm.
Okay.
True. Anna gave us a segue. Your fastest speed you've ever driven.
Fastest speed, 150 on the Autobahn in a Mercedes AMG.
Oh,
Yep,
I'm
I remember.
so jealous.
150 on a
I'm
Mercedes.
so
Yep,
jealous.
150.
I might have
Nice.
to put that on my bucket list.
Okay, last question. If you could erect a statue in District 24, what would it be of?
Oh wow, that's a good one. Probably, I mean, I think erecting a statue to the farmers that, you know, have really made Texas such an economic powerhouse, because that, you know, we're one of the top meat producers in the world, top cotton producers, and that's all Texas farmers. And I think, you know, they definitely need to be recognized for that. They
Yeah,
deserve something.
yeah.
That's a great answer.
It is an ode to the farmers. Yeah, I like that.
Because in Texas and elsewhere, they keep us fed.
They
Like you
do.
said, they keep us in clothing.
Mhm.
Yeah, agriculture. We
Yeah,
don't think
and
about it.
you never
Yeah.
think about where your food is
Mhm.
coming from
Mhm.
ever, right? So
Mhm.
no, I agree. Nice. So Jeremy, before you leave, we're going to ask you to, you know, tell people where they can find you, give out your digits. Just kidding. Your social media, where you are, where they can find you. You know, we have to remind people that they can make donations. It doesn't matter what state you are in, as long as you are in the United States. So please consider small donations to help our Democratic candidates.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got them.
Yep, they can find me on basically all the social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Jeremy 4 Texas, the number 4 instead of the letters. So Jeremy number 4 Texas in all of those. My website, I have a web developer working on it right now, so I hope to have it up next week. That kind of got ran into some issues with that, and it got pushed back. So I'll have that up too soon. Also www.jeremy4texas.us, although I have the com too, so if you accidentally type that in, you'll get there. On right now on Twitter, I have all my possible donation links listed on there. There's Act Blue, Crowd Pack, and I think I have one other on there, Donor Box as well. So whatever is easiest for the people to use, please, by all means, definitely, you know, I would appreciate anything that you guys could send my way. It will all help, every single bit of it, towards, you know, trying to turn Texas a little bit blue, hopefully this year.
Yes, that is the goal. Texas is the goal for sure. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for coming. Everyone, please join us next week. We have a special show, correct, Anna? Valentine's Day show? We have a
pre-Valentine's Day show.
Yeah, we will have a pre-Valentine's Day show next week. So everyone in the chat, everyone out there, please make sure you join us. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming. You have a very nice Valentine's Day. It's coming. It is coming.
I hope both of you do too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Oh, stay safe. You have a storm coming tomorrow, correct? Or Friday.
We'll be thinking about you all in
Yes.
Texas.
Yes. Yes, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone in the chat. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.